Disclaimer: what I am speaking of is not related to any medical field in any way, and is not intended to diagnose or treat anyone or be used in place of approved methods. What this is about is strictly within the energetic, spiritual, and esoteric realms of interpretation. With that said, let us get into what spiritual psychosis can mean from an energetic and spiritual point of view. Many people reach a point in their inner growth where their mental health seems to worsen, even though they are becoming more aware, more conscious, and more self-understanding than ever before. This experience can be confusing and frightening. It often leads people to believe they are regressing, failing, or breaking down. In reality, this phase is frequently a sign of a deeper structural shift taking place within the nervous system and psyche. One of the most common reasons this happens is that sensitivity increases faster than tolerance for friction. As awareness expands, people perceive subtler emotional, energetic, and psychological signals. At the same time, their nervous system may not yet be recalibrated to process this increased input smoothly. The result is a paradox: heightened consciousness paired with reduced resilience. Stressors that once felt manageable or neutral begin to feel invasive or overwhelming. This is not because the person is weaker, but because older buffering mechanisms are no longer operating in the same way. Many individuals unconsciously relied on dissociation, numbing, or over-intellectualization earlier in life. These strategies allowed them to function under pressure, but they also muted internal signals. As awareness grows, those strategies often dissolve. The person is no longer disconnecting from strain in the same way, so discomfort becomes more noticeable. What feels like worsening mental health is often the absence of dissociation rather than the presence of pathology. Another key factor is the nervous system's rejection of force-based functioning. Many people have learned to survive through effort, endurance, and self-overriding. They push through exhaustion, suppress emotional signals, and rely on willpower to stay afloat. While this approach can work temporarily, it comes at a cost. At a certain point, the nervous system refuses to continue operating under constant pressure. When a person tries to force productivity, motivation, or emotional regulation, the system responds with shutdown, anxiety, fog, or collapse. This response is not a failure. It is the emergence of boundaries where none previously existed. This phase is often marked by the dismantling of old coping structures before new ones are fully established. Psychologically and energetically, the person is between states. The familiar strategies that once created stability are dissolving, but gentler and more sustainable forms of regulation have not yet fully integrated. Being in this in-between state can feel disorienting and unstable. There is less internal scaffolding, which can create the impression that things are getting worse, even though the system is actually reorganizing itself toward something healthier. Another contributing factor is the mismatch between cognitive insight and somatic integration. Some people process understanding very quickly. They gain insight rapidly and move through realizations at a pace the body cannot match. The nervous system integrates change slowly. It requires repetition, safety, and rest rather than continuous breakthroughs. When insight outpaces integration, the body experiences overload. Symptoms that appear psychological in nature are often physiological stress responses to excessive internal movement. This is why increased effort tends to worsen symptoms and why rest alone does not always resolve them. Importantly, this experience does not mean something has gone wrong. It does not indicate that a person is broken or incapable. It signals a transition away from survival-based functioning toward regulation rooted in safety, resonance, and embodiment. The system is learning that it no longer has to endure at all costs. Understanding this shift can change how people respond to it. A more simple way to explain the psychosis is this. There is the existing programming, the construct we were born into, the acceptable thoughts, beliefs, and structures that were hammered into each and every individual. It is the programming that tells the person's system this is what exists. This is what is real. Everything else is madness or illness. When that system meets a new system, let's call it a new software for your hardware, that's where some of the friction starts. The two systems battle. What is real? What is false? You don't know anymore. This can be destabilizing as one realizes the world they were born into is simply a construct, and it is a shield against true reality and nature. For some, this can be so jarring and unacceptable that they refuse to believe anything other than the initial programming, and so block their own integration and evolution, insisting that the false blueprint that humanity is fed must stay in place. Everything else must be madness. They refuse spiritual healing, spiritual acknowledgement, or shadow integration. This is not the fault of the individual, and they should not be blamed for their denial. For some, it is simply too difficult to acknowledge. Instead of trying to fix themselves, push harder, or accumulate more insight, the most supportive approach is often to reduce internal demand, allowing slowness without self-judgment, choosing comfort without guilt, and letting motivation return organically can help stabilize the nervous system. Sensitivity, rather than being treated as a flaw, can be recognized as valuable information about capacity and boundaries. The amount of time this takes depends on the individual and their respective needs. For many, this phase marks the beginning of a more sustainable way of living. It is a period where less effort becomes medicine, and where listening replaces forcing. When understood correctly, what feels like deterioration is often a necessary recalibration on the path toward deeper stability and self-trust.